Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning for the Microsoft Teams webinar with Eitex, part of Leeds Digital Festival. I hope you've all enjoyed the Digital Festival. It's been fantastic for Eitex. We've attended some really fantastic events, and this one again, Microsoft Teams, is brought to you today as part of Leeds Digital Festival. So thank you for joining us. This morning, I've got a colleague alongside me, Richard. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning.
And Rich will be assisting me this morning with any questions that you might have. It's an interactive session. I'm starting with PowerPoint, but I'm going to go into Teams and show you Teams actually working and live and how it will look in your organisation. I've got a demo account, so I've got an account that I've set up just for demonstration purposes. So I'll be showing you that, and what I'll also do is jump out of that and into the Eitex Teams account as well, so you can see a live Teams experience, if you like. We as Eitex use Teams day in, day out. We live in Teams, and they say it on the TV ad, we live in Teams, and you start thinking, well, but we do, and we all work together in an open plan office. That said, there's 50% of our staff working from home at the moment, so Teams is even more valuable for us as an organisation right now. So this morning, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Eitex first, just 2 or 3 minutes about Eitex, and then I'm going to delve into Teams and some of the basics that you will use every day in Teams, and some things that are a little bit more advanced, but nothing too advanced. So whether you're using Teams already in your organisation, and whether you're experienced users, or whether you've just heard of it and you don't yet know what to do, where to start, you might have it with your Microsoft 365 subscription, but you haven't started using it yet. We'll cover all bases, so hopefully there'll be something in here in the webinar this morning for everybody. But again, if you've got any questions, please ask them. We'll take regular intervals. I'll ask Rich if there's any questions. Any that are pertinent to your particular organisation, we'll answer those in the background. But any that are generic Teams questions that might be useful for everybody to hear, I will answer those for everybody. Then Rich will publish those questions, and I will answer those out aloud. So Eitex, who is Eitex? We are a managed IT provider, which means we provide IT support services for small, medium and large businesses. And what that basically means is that we are your IT department. If your computer's not starting up, if you're having performance issues, you want help with security, you can't print, whatever that might be, we are your IT help desk and your managed IT provider. We provide hardware with Dell partners, HP partners. We are Microsoft Surface authorized resellers as well. In terms of our partnership with Microsoft, we're Microsoft Gold partners, and we're Microsoft Tier 1. Now, Tier 1 you might not have heard, but it's really valuable to us as a business. There's only a very small percentage of companies in the UK that are Tier 1. The last count I heard from Microsoft was 23, and 2 of those was in the north of England, us being one. Microsoft don't publish that number now anymore, but we're in a very privileged position, and that helps us help you, our customers and businesses that approach us, help you that little bit better in terms of the support that we can give. We're part of a group of companies that work together, and it's called Digital Alliance. So anything that Eitex don't do, then we can put that out to our group of companies that we work with. And so far we have a telephony company, web design, social media, Microsoft Dynamics. And this really does help, as it allows us to provide a turnkey solution for any needs for anything that your business might need. We're rated very high on Google, and we're very thankful for our customers that leave us reviews. 5-star rated, and we're getting reviews all the time. It's something that we encourage customers to leave us reviews, and we're very, very thankful for the 5-star reviews that we receive. Our business very much operates on word of mouth and recommendations, so that's really important to us. At the top right of the screen, you'll see a hashtag Eitex Teams. Please use that. Please tweet us if you're on the session this morning. We've got really good attendance today. How many have we got this morning, Rich? Is a good number, I think.
We've got just over 100.
Just over 100 people. Great. Yeah. So we've just got over 100 attending this morning. So thank you again for joining us. Just a quick one. We're running a competition today, like we usually do with our events, and it's to win an Echo Dot. So if you've enjoyed the experience today, then we'll give you entry details a little bit later on in the session. So the reason we're here, Microsoft Teams. So what is Teams? You've probably all heard of it. Well, obviously you have, because you're here today. And Teams is an amalgamation of, if you like, of all the Microsoft 365 product stack. It's everything that comes together all in one place, but with a collaboration, communication focal point. You look into Teams, and it opens up the Microsoft 365 universe to you, but with collaboration, communication, messaging, file sharing, all built in, and that's really at the heart of Microsoft Teams. So if you have Microsoft 365, then you already have a license with Microsoft 365 Business Standard, which used to be called Business Premium, Microsoft 365 Business Premium, E1, E3, and Business Basic. So pretty much the most popular Microsoft 365 subscriptions include Teams. If you have an email only license, and that is popular for field service staff, people with mobile phones only, and they don't necessarily have a computer, they might have an email only license. Now for those users, we can give them a trial of Teams, or we can increase their license up to Business Basic, which is email and Microsoft Teams, and you get all the features, then everything that comes with that. So I'm going to jump out of Teams now. Sorry, I'm going to jump out of PowerPoint now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Teams. So if you just bear with me 1 second. Right, so this is an environment I have set up for this morning. And I've set up a team called Introduction to Teams. I've set up a fake user, a fictitious user. You might have heard of him. It's called Luke Skywalker. And this is the account I'm going to be using this morning. So before we start, if you have Teams and you haven't used it before, install it on your computer, and at the top right here, this is where your profile is. And it's your name, your picture, your status. So at the moment, Luke is available, and you can see that because it's got a little icon here, or a little jelly bean, and it's green, and that means Luke is available to talk to. So if any of my colleagues speak to Luke, whether that's instant message or via a meeting, a telephone call, before they speak to Luke, they can see Luke is available because of that little green jelly bean there. But that said, Luke can set his status manually, or the status will be set automatically for him depending on what Luke's doing on his computer. So if Luke's attending a webinar like this morning, Teams would know that, and it would set your status to busy, and therefore that icon there would go red, and that means you can speak to Luke. It might not necessarily reply back because you know he's busy. You can manually set the status to do not disturb. So if you're busy on a project or something that you need to get done this morning, something like that, you can set it manually to do not disturb, or you can set it to appear away. So even though you're at your desk and you're working away, you can have it appear like you're away, and that might just be that you don't want to be bothered or something like that. It will also appear away or go to amber if you step away from your desk, so if you go make a drink or you're doing something away from your desk, the computer will recognize there's no mouse, no mouse movements, no keyboard strokes, and therefore it will set your status to away. Also, a really useful feature is that this links in with your Outlook calendar. So if you've got a meeting this morning, 10 o'clock, then your status will be updated automatically, depending on what's in your Outlook calendar. That's a really useful feature. So that really is a quick just to get started with Teams. But the essential part of Teams is Teams. Now, these are your teams here. And this is a team I've created for this morning, and I've called it Introduction to Teams. Now, your teams, it's a little bit confusing because you've got teams within a program called Teams, but your teams here are anything you want for your business or organization. So you might have a team for each department in your business. So that might be HR, finance, sales, accounts, projects, however you operate your business in terms of the departments in your business. You might have a team for your company or my organization. That includes everybody in that business or organization. Some organizations as well set teams up for different geographical locations that they work from. So you might have a Leeds, you might have a London, Manchester, that kind of thing. And that is a division of people in each geographical area. So it really depends on how you run your organization as to how you want to set up your teams. One thing I will say, because sometimes people are a little bit fearful of making a start and delving into this and setting up teams, there's no real right or wrong way of doing it. There's a few guidelines that I'll give you today. But if you do something and you think, maybe I could have done that this way and that would have suited us a little bit better, it can always be undone. So please don't feel any fear by doing the wrong things. It can always be undone, and we can give you the guidance that you need to get it right for your business. So again, here we have a team called Introduction to Teams. So just to sort of explain what this is, if I click on these three dots here and click Manage Team, what it shows me here is that people that are in my organization that are members of this team. So we've got team owners here. Now that's myself, Dean Spencer, and we've got Luke, who's with us this morning. These two users are owners of this team, and what that means is these people can administer this team, make changes to it, add channels, add tabs. I'll go into that in a short while, those sorts of things. And then I've got members and guests. So members are people within our organization. So I've got some of the people I work with here. Guests are external people. So they might be customers, they might be contractors that you work with, that sort of thing. There might be a legal team or British standards, or people that are not necessarily employed by your business, suppliers, for example, but you want to invite them to these teams so you can all collaborate together. And we've got a good customer scenario that I'll go through in a short while with you, just to elaborate on this a little bit and allow you to understand it a little bit more. So what we do here, we've got Introduction to Teams, we've got team members, and then when you start a new team for your organization, for your school, your college, your charity, your business, whatever that might be, you invite your team members here, and I've got Add Member here. And once you've got all those people here, you can now start to communicate with them, you can start and talk to them, you can start to work with them. And when you start a new team for the very first time, it comes with a tab that's called General. So if I go back into the team here, I've got a General tab, and within the General tab, you have two General channel, sorry, here, you have two tabs by default. You have Posts and you have Files. So Posts, that essentially is a notice board. It is a chat that is visible by all team members. So if I go to New Conversation here and say, hello, team, that now has been broadcast to the entire team. and hopefully I'll get some replies. Now, one thing to note here, I've got a reply here. That's Richard is with me this morning. One thing to note here is you have channel notifications. So if I click here, channel notifications, and what this means is you need to have channel notifications switched on. So I'll click on all activity, for example, to be notified when something is typed or something goes into here. If you don't have that, the chat will be there, but you will not be notified that that chat is there. So I'll give you an example of what this means. So I've said hello team. Now the people that are looking in can see this chat. The people that are not, who don't have notifications enabled, cannot. So what I can do here is click on new conversation and say hello and do the @ symbol, introduction to Teams. And what that will do is it will broadcast to all team members and give every team member a notification. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example of why we would use this. So in our business, in Eitex, we've got probably about 10, 12 channels, something like that. But I only focus on sales, marketing, business development. On a daily basis, I'm not looking at the help desk, I'm not looking at projects, I'm not looking at accounts. Although I have access to all these areas, I don't want to be notified when somebody asks a question in the help desk. But I still want to look in there as and when I need to. So you can see all my team members are responding here. I can respond by giving them a thumbs up, something like that. Or one thing I asked my staff to do with these, for example, is if I put something on here, new conversation, and I can do an @ like I can do @ introduction to Teams. I can do @ Richard Marby. So that means Richard will get a notification whether he's got channel notifications enabled or not. @ Richard, can you please update customer A on delivery times? So what that means now, @ Richard, it means that's popped up on his screen as a notification. So Richard, I know Richard's seen that. And I've asked him to update a customer on the delivery times for his product. Now, in this environment here, within Teams, that is far better than an email because that's gone direct to Rich. But all team members can see that communication. So traditionally, I would have sent an email to Richard using Outlook, and that would have been an email from me to him, and everybody else would be excluded. But in his sales team, in a projects team, in reality, everybody's involved at some level, but not everybody needs to be involved in this particular communication. So I've asked Richard, can you please update customer A? But I know Adele can see that, Tom, Owen can see that, Martin can see that. So if the customer then phones up and Richard's not available, Adele might, for example, be aware of this communication and be able to get involved as well. So that is Teams, that's your general tab. I've showed you your team members, and this here is a chat or a notice board where everybody can chat, talk, come together and collaborate using instant message. As well as that, you can meet with these people here. Now I'm not going to click meet, because if I click meet, that will invite all these people to a meeting and it will take me out of this session I'm on with you right now into a new meeting, and it'll put you all on hold. But what you can do is an impromptu meet, and what it will do here is invite all team members to a meeting. So if you have a sales meeting on a Friday, a production meeting on a Monday, a board meeting at the end of the month, something like that, then you can do a meet now by clicking this button here, and it will invite all people. One really cool thing is that it will record the meetings. So for example, if Martin and Owen are not available during that time and we have the meeting, we can record it and publish the recording here in this chat for them to view at their leisure later. So we have a chat. We have a team. It's called Introduction to Teams. These are your channels here, and by default you have a general channel, and again by default you have posts, and you also have files. So if I click on files, now these are files and folders that are stored within Microsoft 365, and any file and folder that's stored here is available to my entire team that's listed here. So anybody that's in here, all my team members, all my guests as well, which is the external suppliers, consultants, customers, contractors, those sorts of people. Anybody in this area here, I've got access to files and folders in here. And that is a really, really useful feature, because when you're working from home, as people are doing at the moment, or you're working remotely, or you're on a customer site, or you're commuting, doesn't matter where you are, you've still got access to all your files and folders that you work on a daily basis. You don't need to be connected into your work's network like you would do traditionally. You need to be connected into server before you've got access to this. You can literally open these files and folders from anywhere. One really useful feature is collaboration. So we've got these files and folders in here. I can go to any of these and start working on them. One feature that we really like is co-authoring. So in a traditional server network environment, if I wanted to open Office 365 packages, and Richard, for example, is again with me this morning, if Richard had that open, the computer would say, this file is opened by Richard. Would you like to open as read only, or like to be notified? Well, if that's a price list or something that your sales team all need to work on together, it's a little bit difficult to sort of maintain that across multiple different people. But when Microsoft 365 and in Teams, it allows you to co-author. So Richard, are you there?
Yep, yeah.
Yeah. If you could open Office 365 packages, please, within Introduction to Teams files.
Okay.
Now, what this does, it opens Microsoft Excel, but still within the Teams environment. So I'm not actually leaving Microsoft Teams. I'm still within Teams, and I've opened this Excel document in Teams. And what that means is I can speak to Richard here. You can hear him audibly now. So Richard doesn't need to be in the same room as me. I can talk to Richard whether he's in the office with me, whether he's at home, whether he's in the car. So and you can see Richard's here, RM. If I hover over that, I say Richard Morby, and all my team, the entire team within this team or within this channel, can all co-author this, can all work on this at the same time. So, hi Rich. So if you could update the business prices, please, and I'll work on the enterprise prices. Okay. So Microsoft, they've put the prices up a little bit. So that's now £3.15. That's now £1.60. And you can see, Rich can see I'm working here, and I can see Richard's working here. And I can speak to Rich here. So if I can't hear him, if he hasn't got a microphone, if he's in an environment where he can't speak, hi Rich, if you work on X, I will work on Y, that kind of thing. And it allows us to work together, just like we sat together in the office and we're looking at this together, working on it together. But in fact, it's better than that, because you've got your own space, your own working environment, and you can look at this and co-author. Now, again, I'm using this within Teams. I have not left Teams, and this gives me what I call everyday functionality. So it's the most common things you will use in Excel. That said, if you need the full version of Excel, I can click Open in Desktop App here, and what that will do is it will open Excel and give me the full feature-rich version of Excel, but still allow me to co-author and collaborate with Rich. So thanks for that, Rich. So I'm going to close this document now.
Okay, no problem.
So again, this is a really useful feature. where you are working with customers. And we use Excel to share sensitive information that we don't want to email. For example, that might be usernames, passwords, it might be financial data, it might be intellectual property or on Word documents, for example, PDFs, and we can all do that on Teams, so that data doesn't have to be emailed, and there's no danger of that email being intercepted or somebody compromising that and the middleman kind of attacks those sorts of things. So this is a very, very secure way of working on data and sharing data together with team members and with external people as well. So again, this is your team, introduction to Teams. These are your channels, these are your tabs. Now in here, you will notice we have a private channel. So with an introduction to Teams, that might be my business, my organization, your company, company X, company Y, and that might be everybody in your business. But what you are also able to do is set a private channel. So in this channel, if I click on Manage Members, you will see here there are a smaller number of people in the private channel. So this might be your business, and this might be the management channel, directors, something like that, and that is a private area within here. So if you imagine this is a sales channel, and it might be a channel you share with a customer, something like that. If you've got a particularly big project, you can invite your customer along to this, and we do as Eitex, we invite customers to channels. We have some very, very large customers, and we invite them to channels, and we might have 10, 15 of their staff all in one channel, and we're all collaborating together. Again, it's far better than email because nobody's left out of the loop in terms of the communication. But what it does mean is that a customer might ask a question. For example, so a customer might sort of say, well, we've got a delivery due next week. They might have ordered blue products. They've ordered some widgets, they're in blue, or they've ordered some mouse mats, they're in blue. They want to change the design, they want to change the logo, they want to change the mouse, they want to change this, they want to change that. And they will put that in this chat, and that's visible to everybody. So if this was a sales channel, what I can do privately here is speak to, so imagine the customer's asked for red instead of blue. I can click on the private channel and say, hi, Rich. So again, I've done the art and I've just notified him here just to ensure that he's seen that. That said, if I do hi, Rich, what I ask my colleagues to do is just to give me a thumbs up like that, so I know they've seen that request or that question or whatever it might be. So hi Rich, the customer has asked if they can have blue instead of red. So what Rich might do now is he might go down to production or speak to whoever he wants, but this chat now here has remained within the context of this team. So it's a sales, it's a project, something like that. So the chat is in this team, it remains within that context, but I've asked it privately outside of the main group. So hopefully Rich will come back and say, yeah, they can now have blue, something like that. Or they can have blue, but it'll be another week later on delivery, or it might add some cost or something like that. But again, that communication is private from the customer. Are you able to reply to that, Rich?
It hasn't come through for some reason.
Okay, no worries. It'll come through in a minute. So Rich has replied to that. Is hopefully said we can have blue instead of red. And now what I can do is click on the general, which the customer can see, and reply to their message and say, hello, customer A, yes, the color change. Something like that. And it keeps everybody in the loop. this is really, so Rich has given me a thumbs up here. I don't know why there's a slight delay there. So, right. So, again, everybody's in the loop. Everybody can see this communication. It's not like an email where you may have inadvertently excluded somebody from that email chain. And what this is really, really useful for is breaking down barriers of communication as well. So what we find nowadays, I'm more so seemingly as every day passes, is that customers will communicate with us on Teams, on channels, on here, rather than picking up the phone. And what it means is I can see their face, they can see my face, we're communicating one-to-one, and it just breaks down those barriers of communication and allows a closer working relationship, if you like, because we're all involved, we're all working on this together, we're all talking together, we're sharing files and folders together, and it's a really, really fantastic tool. So I've talked to you about Teams. We've got an introduction to Teams here. I've talked to you about channels, which are these channels here. Now, if you notice here, I've got a finance channel. I just want to give you a little bit of a word of warning on this. So at the top level here, again, I have got my team members. So manage team. Now, this works on what you call waterfall permissions. So whatever's at the top, whatever permissions you have at top level, filter down to everything that's below that. So if you have a finance channel within your company channel, that means all these team members, all these people can see that. Now, of course, you can do a private finance channel, but what is better to do is to have another team called finance, and then only invite your finance people, and then you never have to worry about any permissions or anything like that. It's contained, it's separate, it's secure, and it's only visible by the people that have the permissions to see those channels. So I would not do a finance team within a company team. I would have a finance channel, a finance team. I would not have a finance channel. I would have a finance team, which is separate, or an accounts team, or a management team, something like that. We're happy to give you guidance. Please email me, please Teams me, send me a message on LinkedIn. We're happy to give you guidance with what to do and how to best structure this. So I've showed you your teams, I've showed you your channels. Now, one feature that we use heavily in Eitex is tabs. So if I go back into the general channel here, by default, you have posts and you have files. But what you're able to do here is add these. Now, these are called tabs, and these are things that are pertinent or relate to that particular channel. So if it's an accounts channel, you can link this to cloud applications, for example, Xero, QuickBooks, other cloud applications, or it might be a CRM, Dynamics 365. You might have product availability, or where it is in the production, or resource planning, those sorts of things. You can pin all those sorts of things in here. We have a production planner. This links out to Microsoft Planner, which is part of your Microsoft 365 subscription. And if any of you used Trello before, it's like a Kanban type of system, like buckets. So here we have jobs, fictitious jobs. We have jobs here that's not started. We have jobs here that's planned and in progress. So you can see this one here is due on the 5th of November. There's 2 out of the 6 tasks here completed. These are all the tasks here. So we've got fabrication, painting, what have you. We can assign tasks to people. Now, again, this all remains within the context of this team. So if this is a production team and this is your production planner, you've got the right people involved. You can speak to them. You can see everything that's going on in the business, all from within Teams. So again, all that collaboration, communication. You've got a calendar here, and it just helps with production planning. And these sorts of meetings are more difficult when you're all working from home, but when you're all looking in on Teams, all of a sudden it becomes simple again, and you've got all the tools in front of you. That was due on the 29th of September, so it's highlighted in red. You can see it's overdue. So that's Microsoft Planner. We've got a notebook in here as well, which links to OneNote. So any notes that you make are all in here. Now, this is really useful. We use this OneNote for our sales team. Really imaginative content in there. But we use OneNote for our sales team. So when we go out and visit a customer or speak with a customer on Teams, we will make notes on OneNote. Then they come back to the office or whatever, and all our team have got the notes that have been made on site. Now, I make notes on my Microsoft Surface. You can make them on your laptop. You can make them on your mobile phone. Doesn't matter. You can write with your pen. Like we've got here, you can type. And what that means is that notebook is shared with the sales, with production, with whatever. And it's a nice flow of information. And that's really useful when I go see a customer. I mean, some of the customers we've got, we've had for 10, 15 years. Our longest customer we've had for 24 years now. I've not been using this for 24 years. I've been using it a good 10 years though. And what it allows me to do when I go visit that particular customer, I can quickly and instantly go to the last meeting, notes, the meeting before that, the meeting before that, and the meeting before that. Whereas historically, I would have been going through a notebook, looking for the previous notes that I spoke about with that customer. I've got it all to hand. And again, you can share this with your customers and what have you, if you want as well. If it's a production or sales, you might have links to websites that you use, British standards, ISO, so you can pin websites to these channels. So if it's a sales list, it might be a supplier price list, and that's pinned to the Eitex website. But what you can do here is click add and add a website onto here. And we've got more notebook issue tracker. So the issue tracker is new in Teams. It's actually part of Microsoft Lists, and List is essentially a database, if you like, that you can link to Microsoft Teams. Hopefully that'll come up here. What this is doing, by the way, the notebook, the planner, the files, none of this stuff is in Teams. We're just using Teams as a window through to the different parts of Microsoft 365 and bringing that content together all in one place. So when I click on issue tracker, because I'm using this via my web browser, it just took a second to load, and that's because it's pulling it from somewhere else within Microsoft 365. But here, this is a database that we can build within Microsoft 365 and publish the content in Teams. So I can click on new item. I can add all the fields that I want in here. One thing that we do within Eitex, or was something we started to do, and our customers may well have seen this already, is that we link these lists here to a product called Microsoft Forms. So when a new user joins your organization or when a user leaves, we have a form that's on our website. It's not publicly visible. We have to send you a link, but then you fill in that form. So a new user, Joe Blogs, what type of license does he need? Well, is it Microsoft 365 Business Standard? What permissions do they want? Do they need a new laptop or machine? So the customer's filling in all that content. They click submit, and all that information captured on the web comes through to these lists here and these forms here. Or we can have it emailed to our help desk or whatever flow of information that we want. And then our staff downstairs are all capturing this information, but it's largely customer-led. Customers are filling in all this information, so it's highly efficient. We're not having to copy and paste anything, and it's a really fantastic feature. And that's called Microsoft Lists, Microsoft Forms. But again, we can help you with this. Again, these are your tabs here, and you would have whatever tabs are meaningful to your team. If you click on the plus sign here, you can add more. And what this does as well is links to other apps. So other apps that are not necessarily Microsoft 365. So that's the list I've just showed you, your website. So this is all the Microsoft 365 stuff here. And then we've got a lot of third-party apps in here that you can pull in. So if you do use Trello, like I showed you the planner, for example, and the Trello have got an app. I've not heard of a lot of these. Some of you might have. Adobe Sign's a good one. When you're getting customers to sign things off, it pulls it through. There's all sorts of stuff, and this is this list is growing and growing and growing all the time. So just to recap, I've showed you Teams, These are your channels, these are your tabs, the communication, your files in your folders, the co-authoring, your private channels as well. So what I'm going to do now is move on to chat. But before I do that, I'm going to ask Rich, have we had any questions in so far, Rich, that regarding anything I've shown so far?
Yes, there's a good few. There was one probably about initial setup, which is how do you create a team?
How do you create a team?
Yeah, because
so
the very first time you use this, if you log on to portal.office.com, portal.office.com, and that will take you to your Microsoft 365 subscription. And from here, you can install Microsoft Teams on your computer. You might need to ask your support people, your support help desk, whatever. But you've got Teams here, and that will open it in the web browser, and it will invite you to install it on your computer. So once you've got Teams installed, it will run at startup. So when you start your machine up, Teams will run, and there'll be nothing in there to start with. So the very first thing you need to do is click down at the bottom here, join or create team. So if I click join or create team, I can create a team in here, and it's all build a team from scratch. It's all very, very straightforward. It's available to everybody, or you want to just invite specific people, and then you can call the team what you want. So this is your sales team, or it's your production team, something like that. I'm not going to create this because this will create another team within our Microsoft 365 tenant. But once you click create, it will then ask you which members you want to invite. Click finish, then that's the team done. And then you will have discard. I want to get rid of that. And then you will have a team like you've got here. And by default, you have a general tab here, sorry, a general channel and the posts, and you'll have posts and files, and then you'll be able to start to speak to your team members. Any other questions, Rich, before I move on to chat? Yeah, there's just one good one about does Teams need to be open to receive notifications?
That is a good one. That is a good question. So with Teams, I have Teams installed on my laptop, on my Microsoft Surface. I also have Teams installed on my on my phone, and I'm going to show you that in a short while. So when I exit Teams, when I close Teams, it actually goes down into the system tray and it's hidden in the background, so you'll get notifications. But if you log out of Teams, you will no longer get notifications. You will receive notifications though on any other device that's logged into your Teams account. So that might be a mobile phone, it might be an iPad, it might be a desk phone that's compatible with Microsoft Teams. So you've got many different places that you can see these notifications. So the answer is yes, unless you log out of Teams on those devices. Any more, Rich?
No, that's it for now.
Right, great. So this is my team. I'm speaking to a team or a group of people, but on occasion I want to speak to people individually. So I can speak to team members on a one-to-one basis here. So I'm going to say hello, Rich. This morning. So that is a one-to-one communication between Richard and myself. Nobody else can see it. It's private. Now what I can do here, I can have a video call with Rich or a phone call. I can also share my screen with Rich. I can add other people to this chat as well. So if I wanted to chat with line managers that are not necessarily part of a team, I can invite additional people here. So I'm going to invite somebody called Chris and then click add, and then that will add Chris to this conversation. This is where customers talk to us most frequently on chat, and it's not always via phone. It is instant message like this usually. That said, when customers got used to Teams and when people are comfortable with what Teams does, we found that a lot of customers did voice only. But now people again getting more confident, more comfortable. A lot of customers use video, so they will video call me. So if they was to click video call, I can see their face, they can see mine. It might be 2 or 3. I might have a conversation with 2 or 3 customers, but I don't have to speak to people just in my organization here. I can speak to anybody in the world via Teams. So it might be Bill.Gates. This won't work, by the way. Microsoft.com. Imagine he's one of my, well, he's probably one of my suppliers. Yeah. So search for Bill Gates. Is obviously with chat by default, you can speak to any organization that's using Microsoft 365 and any user that is using Microsoft Teams. And that's an open communication. You can speak to anybody. That said, a lot of organizations might have deny everybody, so you can't speak to everybody, and then allow, so they might have a whitelist, so allow only certain organizations. So they will allow Eitex, they will allow certain customers. So the control, there's an element of control there that you're only allowing your staff to speak to certain customers and certain suppliers. They can't speak to Auntie Norma or Uncle Fred or whoever. It's purely a work tool, and you've got the control in here to ensure that remains that way. So if I speak to one of my customers, all I would do, so Joe at blogs.com. Okay, and then it hasn't found Joe, but then what I would do here is, hi Joe, how are you this morning? And this is really useful because when I speak to customers on here, and we do almost daily, I've got all their previous chat. Everything we spoke about is here in the history. I just need to scroll up the screen and I can see everything that we spoke about. Historically, what I would have done if my customer would have emailed me, asked me a question, where did we get to with their project that we're doing last week, last month, or we spoke about this in January, February, I'd need to go into Outlook, search for that customer, search for words, and it's a nightmare. You can never seem to find what you're looking for quickly and easily. Whereas on here, all the chat for that customer is right here and visible. With Richard and with my team that I'm speaking to, I can share files. I can see where they are in the organization. So you've got an organizational chart. The files are really good. So if you're having one-to-ones with people, you might share those kinds of files in here and those sorts of things. But again, I can escalate this to voice or video. I don't need to be using my computer. I've got the very same on my mobile as well, on an iPad and different devices. So long as I'm logged into Teams, I can communicate with staff. Now, lockdown, a very stressful time, a lot of uncertainty. We had lots of meetings planned in, as I'm sure many of you did when we went into lockdown, meetings that we were supposed to be doing on site with customers and things like that. So when we went into lockdown, there was no reason, we found no reason that those meetings couldn't continue, except they were now going to be on Teams rather than face-to-face with those customers. Now, the majority of customers at that time, or a lot of customers, weren't sure of the technology, so we guided them through. So if you imagine we've got a meeting on Monday, it was supposed to be in Wakefield, for example. If I go to calendar here, this calendar links with your Outlook calendar. So I've got Luke Skywalker here. I can see he was doing some Jedi trading on Monday. Today is on the Microsoft Teams webinar. So obviously, so he can speak to his the universe more freely and easily. But if you imagine next week, Monday, meeting in Wakefield, and this actually happened to us. This is something we did, meeting Wakefield, and we had customers that we were meeting that we'd never met before. So we had prospects, opportunities that had come into the business for people that we've never met before, never spoken with before, and what this might have done. So meeting Wakefield, new customer, and in here this would have been a geographical location. So WF1, I'm just making this postcode up, I don't know if it's right, real, 1AZ, and it will have been the customer's address. So what we did, we went to the customers and said, you know what, Mr. Customer, can we not do a meeting face-to-face? How would you feel about doing a Teams meeting instead? And what we can do on here is meet on Teams. So if I save this meeting now, I can have it pertinent. I can have it on a particular related to a particular channel. So if it's a project or something like that, it's now a Teams meeting instead. And all I need to do here, instead of having this calendar entry just for myself, I would invite the customer. So just for simplicity, I'm going to invite Rich to a meeting on Monday. I'm going to click send. So now Rich, what will happen in his calendar in Outlook, when he clicks on that meeting, he will have a join button. And when he clicks join, Richard will join a meeting with me, and it'll be face to face, and it'll all be done via the web. And it's very quick, it's very easy, it's painless, and lots of customers are doing this now. And in fact, even though we're allowed out now, we're allowed to go visit customers, we're allowed to visit suppliers and what have you. We're finding many customers are preferring this, because even for us, a meeting in Wakefield, I'll have to go, it's a 20-minute drive from where I am. So it's 20 minutes there, it's 20 minutes back, it's 40 minutes. And there might be parking, so I have to pay for parking, 5-10 minutes to walk. So it's, before I know it, I've got an hour that's dead time before I meet that customer. On here though, I can meet a customer, and at 9:58, 9:59, something like that, I click to join meeting. My customer joins the meeting. The meeting might last an hour, might last an hour and a half, whatever. And then we come off the meeting. I'm in my office. I'm already working again. And it's just the productivity and the return of investment on a product like this is phenomenal. We've got a customer. We've got a couple of customers that are throughout England. We've got depots throughout the UK, and we've got customers as well with depots throughout the world. We have one customer that we use as a case study. I've got depots 21 countries around the world, and they used to meet every 6 months. So they'd go to a different location, whether that was Sweden, France, England, America, and it would only be key people within that organisation would have the luxury of being able to fly to these different, and then there's the hotel stays, and there's all the costs associated with that. And that was every 6 months. They now have a meeting monthly on Teams instead, and everybody, all the key people are now invited that were previously excluded, and the meetings are much more frequent. Obviously, far, the savings are vast, and they probably meet once a year now instead, something like that. So in terms of productivity and in terms of what it's allowed Eitex to do in meeting with customers throughout the entirety of the lockdown, and we've won customers as well. So just because we do it on Teams doesn't mean we've lost anything. Obviously, we still like to get face to face and meet these customers, and hopefully one day shake hands again. But Teams has been a fantastic tool in that regard, and allowing us to continue with our business. So, Rich, I'm about to move on to the next thing. Is there any questions coming so far anymore?
Yes, there was one about files. So when you put
Files
files in the files area, how do you can you change permissions on them, or are they all open to everybody, and do you have to put private files into a private area?
Okay, so if I go back to files, just to reiterate what I've said and to go into a little bit more detail. So in introduction to Teams, if I go to team members, so I manage team here, all the people in here have got access to all the files that are stored in this team, with exception to the private channel. So if I click on general and then click on files, all those people have got access to all this data here. Now, one thing we can do is open this. I'm not going to go into this. This is getting a little bit more technical now, but I can open this in SharePoint, which is where this data is stored. And so if I go back to team members, manage team, going to pick a member here, Owen. So I've got Owen here. He's got access to everything.
what I can do here is click on General, Files, Open in SharePoint. Now in SharePoint, you've got more control in terms of the permissions that you want to set. So it's waterfall, all the permissions are set from the top. So the company data, I could go into that and take Owen out. The danger in that though, is there's much more to think about. There's much more scope for things, private data, to become available to individuals that are not supposed to have it. So I recommend to have, for example, finance as a separate team with only team members that should have access to that data. Does that answer that question, Rich?
Yep, that sounds good.
And in fact, I'm moving on to files now. So files within SharePoint is fantastic. You can store, you can access files from within OneDrive. So within Microsoft 365, OneDrive is your private, is your data, your user data. OneDrive is your My Documents, as it was traditionally known, I suppose, your data within Microsoft 365. That's for you as an individual. Now you can share that with other users, but that's your data. So data can be stored in OneDrive. By default, when you start it or create a new team, all this data that you're looking at here is stored in SharePoint. Now SharePoint is company data. That's data that's for your business. It's not owned by anyone personally in your business. It is company data. So essentially that would be what your server is, or your server used to be. So your data's in SharePoint. You don't have to use Microsoft data storage to work with Teams, though. You can add cloud storage, and it works with other companies that for example, Google. You might use Google Drive, you might use Dropbox, and there's other Citrix and what have you on here, and you can plug in those third-party vendors into here, so you're making that data accessible. One scenario that is common. A lot of customers use Dropbox, or in the past have used Dropbox. Now that is a separate subscription. You pay separately for Dropbox. So you're paying for Microsoft 365, and if you've got a business premium, business standard, you get 1 terabyte of storage per user, and then 1 terabyte in your SharePoint site. If you're using an enterprise plan with Microsoft 365, so E3, for example, E5, you get 5 terabytes of storage per user. So it's a massive amount of data that's available to you within Microsoft 365. But then some customers have also been paying for Dropbox, just because, for example, they've used that in the past. It's what they used to. So they're paying for 2 services. So what a lot of companies do is sort of move from Dropbox to Microsoft, and a really easy way of doing that, or a simplified way of doing that, is to have your files and folders available here, which are connected to SharePoint, but then add Dropbox. So you've got Dropbox available, you've got your Microsoft available, and it's you transitioning the data from one system to the other. And during that transition, people don't need to stop working; they still have access to Dropbox. So yeah, it works with many different vendors. For example, Dropbox Box is another popular one. We've got Citrix as well, and Google Drive is probably one of the more popular ones as well that we come across. Eitex can help you move the data as well. We have a service to help you do that. So just to quickly summarize what we spoke about already. And then what I'm going to move on to is I'm just going to show you my mobile and how to access some of this data on your mobile, and then I'm going to go into Microsoft Teams Voice. So we spoke about Teams, and then these are your teams here. In fact, what I will do is I'll show you my live teams that we use within Eitex in a short while as well, just to give you a little bit more of a feel for how it's used in a real life environment, because this one's pretty empty, to be fair. But these are your teams here. These are your teams here. All your teams would be listed down here, and again, that might be per department in your business: sales, finance, HR, projects, whatever departments you have in your business. Or it might be a company-wide team, your business, and that's everybody, and that's a good way to get started. Or it might be per geographical area: Leeds, Liverpool, London, Manchester, whatever, America, New York, wherever your offices are, and you can lay those out in the order of
locality. So those are your teams. Then in the teams, you've got channels. So you can break that down into sections. So for example, if this was a projects team, then we might have project 1, project 2, project 3, and that kind of thing. Then within each channel, you've got your tabs. You've got your posts, your files by default, and then whatever tabs you choose to add, which are these here. We spoke about the calendar. So now I'm jumping ahead. We spoke about chat first, and chat is one-to-one. This is used commonly within Eitex to speak to individual team members via voice and video as well, because if they're at home, it's really good as well, this, by the way, for mental health. We have people who work from home all the time, and they're on their own a lot of the time, and to be able to click on video and to see another person, to speak to them, it just really helps, and it's really beneficial, because you all of a sudden you're out on a limb, you're at home in your own home office, in your living room or a box room, and to click and see somebody's face and collaborate and talk to them in that way, all of a sudden you feel in the loop and you feel part of the team, if you like. So that's really fantastic, is that feature. So we spoke about Teams, we spoke about chat, calendar. Again, this links with your Outlook calendar. So now, at this moment in time, my computer knows I'm in a webinar here, and my status, if I go to myself, it will know I'm busy. Contacts. This is where I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you this in a short while. But Teams, there I've got my status there. I've got a do not disturb. It says I'm presenting. In actual fact, it knows I'm presenting because Teams is looking at my calendar. It knows what I'm doing. It does that completely automatically. So that is calendar. Links with your Outlook calendar, and it's fantastic for meetings. You click on new meeting at top right there. Enter your customer's email address, your supplier's email address, your teams, whatever, and it sends them an emailed invite. They do not need Teams as well to join a Teams meeting. If they receive, like you, a lot of you today may not have Teams, for example, all you need to do is click on the link that is emailed to you. If your computer has Teams installed, your operating system, Windows 10 or whatever you're using, will recognize that, and it will use Teams for the meeting. If you don't have Teams installed, it will do it via your web browser. So you don't need to worry, don't need to wonder whether your customer's got Teams or using Teams already. They can join this meeting without Teams, and that is really beneficial. So I always spoke about files as well. One thing as well that I use all the time within Eitex is activity. So if you imagine here, you might have several teams, projects, finance, and you might be involved in many different areas of the business. So for example, management, top management might be involved in all the different localities across the world or across the UK, or business owners want to know about finance and all these different teams. And it's quite easy to get lost in this communication here. So I've said hello to Rich in here, and there's other teams in here where I spoke to other people. Now, what activity does, it shows you all the different things that have happened since last time you looked. So I could see that Rich gave me a thumbs up. What was that about? It's highlighted it there. Hi, Rich, the customer has asked for it. So I can see there, Rich has replied. I can see that Rich has replied there. Now, my activity, in fact, I've got 8. You can't see it. I can see it on another device I'm looking at. I've got 8 in here since I started the meeting. So what I'll do when I finish this webinar is click on activity, and I can go straight to those relevant channels and speak to the necessary people and carry out whatever actions are required. So what I'm going to do now is talk about Microsoft 365 Teams, or Teams Voice, and this is the feature that allows you to use or to move your company phone system to Microsoft Teams, and this is really great. We were using it already, so when we went into lockdown and we were all using Teams at home, when we received a phone call,
it was actually came through on Teams. And what that means is we can work from any geographic, any location in the world. So long as we've got an internet connection, we can receive a phone call on our local 01924 telephone number, and we might be in anywhere in the world, and that will come through to us. Likewise, we can make a telephone call out from home, and it will come from our works number. We don't have to use a personal mobile or anything like that. It's all on Teams. So if I click on calls here, now what Teams allows me to do is speak to people on Teams, of course. So if I was to, I can see Chris is away, actually. He's away from his desk. But if I was to click call, I can see Jordan there is in a call, so he's in a phone call. Richard's with me right now. I can see he's in a meeting. I've got nobody to talk to, Rich. But if I was to click on that button there, that would call Adele via Teams. And that's included within your license, within the Teams license. I can speak to other people on Teams via voice and, of course, video. But what the add-on license does, what the business voice does, is it allows this to break out to the telephone network. So if I was to click make a call, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my own Teams that I have, that I use all the time. So if you just bear with me 1 second. Rich, have you got any questions while I change the screen, please?
Yes, so just one back to the start. Someone's asked, would you recommend someone else setting up Teams for them, or can they set up their own Teams?
Right, it really depends on the level of competency in terms of your IT literacy and those sorts of things. That said, it's not difficult. Please do not be afraid to get something wrong or break something. It's really difficult to break something, and if you do, it can always be undone. If you go to YouTube and you type in Eitex UK, we did a video at the start of lockdown, how to get started with Teams. It's an hour long, and it enabled many organizations to start using Teams. It shows you how to load Teams, how to start your new channels, how to move files and folders to Teams, and you get a really good head start with that. We're also able, as an organization, to set Teams up for you. And you may be more likely to use Eitex if you're moving vast amount of data, for example, from a server. Moving large chunks of data can be problematic, and we've got tools to do that, and we can move data in a managed way. So you might want to use Eitex or your own IT support provider in that scenario to do it for you. But Eitex UK, all one word, EITEX UK, search for that on YouTube, and we've got a video on there, and that gives you a really good head start on how to use Teams. Is there anything else, Rich?
No, that's it for now.
Great. So I'm going to jump into my Teams now. So, Rich, can you see my desktop? Yeah.
Yes. Just bear with me.
Okay. So this is Teams. You can see Richard looking back at us. Hi, Rich. Sorry about that. I know you love it when that happens. So if I click on calls here. So I've got my contacts within Eitex here, who I speak to most frequently. I've got customers and suppliers, and I've got other contacts and what have you here who I speak to frequently. But if I click dial number here, I've got a dial pad. And what I've also got, because you can never remember it, it tells you your DDI number. So if I'm speaking to somebody on the phone and I want to give them a number to call me back directly, then I've got the number there. So if you was to phone Eitex right now, I'm not inviting you to do this. I'm just telling you. So 01924 488 612. That phone call will be answered by Microsoft Teams. So what I'm going to do here on my mobile, I'm going to share my mobile with you. So just bear with me 1 second.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for my mobile to join onto my Teams session. So I'm going to share my screen now. So, Rich, can you see my mobile there?
Yes, yeah, in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, great. So what I'm going to do is just minimize everything else. This wallpaper changes daily. It's a Bing desktop, by the way. Looks like Chinese lanterns or something. But this is my mobile now that you're looking at in the middle of the screen. And what I've got here is Microsoft Teams client. So I've got everything that we look at on Teams. I have on my mobile. I've got all the teams that I work in every day. So we've got projects, we've got help desk, digital alliance, which you mentioned earlier. We've got sales and things. We've got a call, so I'm logged into calls. So anybody phones me on my work extension, which is of course part of Teams, it'll ring on my mobile using this client here. I can make phone calls using my mobile. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Eitex here. So this is ringing Eitex now. Hopefully you can.
Hello and welcome to Eitex. Please say the name of the department you wish to speak to.
Sales.
Or press 1 for... I think you said sales. Is that correct?
Yes.
Say yes or...
And that's put me through to sales. So that was answered by Microsoft Teams. So if I ring that again, I can speak to myself. I'm on a presentation right now, so it heard me talking, so it thought I said something. So
hello and welcome to Eitex.
Dean.
Please say the name. I think you said Dean. Is that correct?
Yes.
Say yes or transferring your call to Dean Spencer.
Now again, that's all managed by Microsoft Teams. I can phone Luke Skywalker. I'm going to phone him now. He won't be available. I was not going to answer his phone. So this is a call to Luke. I'm going to deny that.
Skywalker is currently unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone. When you have finished, please hang up or press the pound key for more options.
Hello, Luke. Can you please give me a call regarding Microsoft Teams? We'd like to set it up for our business. Thank you. So there, I've left Luke a voicemail. So what that will do now is it will appear in a minute, a few seconds. This was one that I did yesterday. It will appear in voicemail, and what it does, it transcribes the message that the system has recorded. So if you are in an environment where you cannot listen to messages, you might be in a meeting or a webinar like now, or in a noisy environment, it allows you to read the messages that come through to you. And that's really good as well. So this is the one I've just sent myself. Hello, Luke. Can you please give me a call regarding Microsoft Teams? It's missed we, but we would like it setting up for our business. Thank you. And of course, because these words are here, it now becomes searchable as well. So if I think, the customer's phoned me about delivery of product A, and I can type in. So as long as those words are in here, I can search for that voicemail in here. And because it links with Microsoft Office, so I've got all my emails, and I've probably got loads during the course of this webinar, like I would imagine you all have as well. So I've got all my emails here, and I've also got voicemails. So all my communication is in one place, and that email will have come through to me as words and as an attachment, so I can listen to it from Outlook as well.
Hello, Luke. Can you please give me a call regarding Microsoft Teams?
I love listening to my own voice. It's fantastic. So yeah, so it's a really, really fantastic feature. Obviously, you've all got phone systems already. If you're a very small business and you use only mobiles, you can get a business phone number with this. But for the organisations who are using phone systems, we can move your telephone numbers, your DDI numbers, your main office numbers to Microsoft Teams. And what that means is when somebody phones you on your office number, it's then answered by Teams. As you saw in the example, I said Dean. I think you said Dean, and it'll transfer you to Dean. So when somebody phones me, if I'm working from the office, from home,
I'm commuting on the train, in the car, on my hands-free kit, that call will come through to me wherever I am and on any device as well. Microsoft Teams, there's lots of devices coming out that work with Teams as well. So you can buy handsets, so traditional phones that work with Teams, as well as video cameras that work in meeting rooms to capture meetings. So for board meetings and things like that, there's loads and loads and loads of different devices coming out. So just to give you a summary again of what we've discussed, and then we'll go to Q&A. So please, if you've got any questions, please ask them now, and we'll read them out before we wrap up and try and answer those as best we can. So obviously the focal point and why we're all here, it's about teams, and these are the teams in your organization. You've got your channels, you've got your team members, you've got your tabs here. You can start a new team down here at the bottom. Again, please don't feel don't be scared about setting up a new team, but it is better to coordinate that in your business. If you've got many people involved in your business, channel that through 1, 2 or 3, a group of people, so you've got control over what you're setting up here. Otherwise you might end up with 2 or 3 sales channels and different things. It's unmanaged. Go through somebody that coordinates the whole effort. And again, Eitex is happy to help. We're happy to do the whole thing for you if you wish to move data from servers and set up your telephone systems and things like that. So we've got the tabs, teams, we've got the channels, we've got the tabs. We spoke about one-to-one chat and the calendar and the activity as well. So you can see I've got 9 activities waiting for me in Teams right now. And then we spoke about your files. I can link to Dropbox and Google Drive, all those sorts of different things. And then lastly, we spoke about Microsoft 365 Business Voice. So that is the end of today's session. We've got a Q&A now, and then I'm going to tell you about the competition for a chance to win an Echo Dot. So Richard, before we wrap up, have we got any more questions, please?
Yes, there was just one on the phone section.
Okay.
Can't find the dial pad. Can you show how to find the dial pad?
So the dial pad. So for example, Luke here has not got a dial pad. That means that Luke has not got the telephony, the licenses that he needs on Microsoft 365 to enable Luke to make to do the right things. Whereas if you look on my own Teams that I use here, I have got the dial pad here, and that means I've got the Business Voice license. You need the license. It's an add-on to Microsoft 365 subscription. You need to add it onto your Business 365 Business Standard or your E3, whatever subscription you're using. It's an add-on. So if that's not there, it's most likely that you've not got the correct licenses. And again, we can help with your licenses. I'm going to tell you how to get in touch now. So on you can of course email me. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation now. So I've got some contact details and what have you on there. So just bear with me 1 second. Right. We're in Echo Dot. I'm going to just jump ahead and then go back to the Echo Dot. So, beginning anyway. Right. So, please email me if you have any questions. My email address. You've all received an email from me anyway, inviting you to today's session. But my email address is dspencer@itex.co.uk. Email me if you've got any questions, if you need help with setup, if you need help with licensing, if it's a general question that you think about after we leave today's session, email me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn, and it's Dean Spencer at the end. I'll be happy to hear from you. Please link in with me. I'll be more than happy to connect. And we will answer all the questions that you have. But just to show that you've been listening and that you've enjoyed today and you want to adopt Teams and you're going to go start using it, take my email address, dspencer.co.uk, make a note of that, go into Teams. So just bear with me 1 second. And at the top here in Teams, so if I go to chat, at the very top here, apologies, I closed this. I've closed Luke Skywalker's session. So, so just bear with me 1 second. So if you go into chat here, and at the top of the screen, you've got like a little pencil at the top. Click on that, enter my email address, dspencer, it's this pencil here. And enter my email address, dspencer@itex.co.uk. And you can start a one-to-one chat with me. And then you're talking to me on Teams rather than email. So just to show you that again, so if you go to that pencil there, enter my email address here, and you can talk to me on Microsoft Teams. So just to go to our competition now, Rich, just before we go to this, are there any more final questions?
Yes, there was just a couple just on you sharing the presentation then. How do you share slides or your screen or videos in a meeting?
How do I share my slides? Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is go back to Luke Skywalker's session. So just bear with. Is there any more questions, Rich, besides that one, while I get onto the right settings? Please.
No, the others just seem to be ones to go away with to check some items and then answer afterwards.
Right. Oh, so some one-to-one, some private questions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to go into Luke Skywalker's portal. So I'm going to go into Teams here via my web browser. So to do that, I'm going to go to teams.microsoft.com. and that will take me to Teams. And what I'm going to show you now is how to share content with people on your meeting. So in fact, here on the middle of the screen, there is a share button. So during the meeting that you have, either with it's a one-to-one chat on video, or it's a meeting with a group of people within Teams. At the top of the screen, you will have a share button, and it's a little arrow that points upwards. So you click on that arrow, and at the bottom of the screen, what will happen is it will show you the content that's available to you to share. Now, the content available to share is anything that you've got open. So if you've got a web browser open, an Excel document, something like that, it will allow you to share that information. So if I go to my computer, the team seems a little bit unhappy at the moment. It just seems to be thinking about stuff. There we go. So if I click on new conversation, so I'm going to go to chat. And then Chris here, I'm going to say hi, Chris. I can share any content with him. Now, the trouble is if I share anything with Chris, it's going to take me out of what I'm sharing with you to share that with Chris. But it's a little arrow down at the bottom, and you can open any, you can share anything you've got open here at the bottom. So if you've got a file open, a Word document, an Excel document, or PowerPoint, then you can share that PowerPoint presentation with your audience. So does that answer that question, Rich? Is there anything else?
Yeah, no, that's all good. The others I think we can answer afterwards.
Right, great. So, as I mentioned earlier, there is a chance for you to win an Echo Dot. So what we like to do as part of the webinars and presentations and workshops and things that we do, we encourage customer feedback. And as I mentioned earlier, our business operates by customer recommendation, testimonials, feedback, and things that people are putting out there on the web. And we really, really appreciate it when customers give us feedback or reviews on Google and what have you. So to enter the competition today, I hope you've really enjoyed the session and all those sorts of things. I hope you feel like I've given you a 5-star presentation today, and I really, really appreciate your feedback. So if you search for Eitex on Google, And you'll see here on the right of the screen, there's a reviews. If you leave us a review today, then you'll be automatically entered into the competition to win an Echo Dot. This is Jeanette, who won an Echo Dot from the cybersecurity webinar that we ran with West Yorkshire Police a couple of weeks ago. So all I'm asking for, if you've enjoyed the session today, please give Eitex some feedback, a review on Google, and the easiest way to do it is to search on Google, search for Eitex, click on reviews, and then you can say, well, if you enjoyed the webinar today, and we'd really love to hear from you. I'll also email you all afterwards to say thank you for joining. I'll put a link to the review on there as well, so to invite you to leave us a little review on Google. Also, there'll be an invite for you all. If you want to ask any questions, please just respond to me. If you want to get us in to have a bit more of an in-depth chat, please just reply to me and I'll get that organised for you. But thank you for joining today. That's an hour and a half is up. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I hope you found something worthwhile they can go away and use in your organisations, in your businesses today. So thank you all, and goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.